Okay. All right. So 3:46, we will get started. Again, thank you for joining us at the end of a school day as well. I know how much fun it can be. So we are scheduled to go for an hour today, but team, if you've been on any of our webinars previously, you know we make this quite a bit of a casual chat. So if we go for 40 minutes, we go for 40 minutes. If you have a lot of questions, you're welcome to ask them, and we'll stay here as long as you need. I'm Jazz from Empowered Women in Trades, or EWIT as we are known as. And this is the second webinar from our series, supported proudly by the Victorian State Government, Department of Education. And today we are focusing on trade pathways in construction. Now, this time when we talk about construction, we are not just talking about building houses. We are actually focusing on some of the larger infrastructure projects that are happening all across our state, and just talking about, I guess, diversity in these areas, where the resources are, where the pathways are, where are the jobs, and I guess what are the key bits of information you need as teachers, educators, to be able to support your students. Okay, so before we go any further, it is important that we do acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connection to land, sea, and community. Today, I'm coming from the land of the Wurundjeri people, and we extend our respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging. We'd like to welcome all First Nations people who join us today as well. The session is being recorded today. So if you do need to hop off, that's absolutely fine. If you've got some friends that you want to share this with, or with your students in classrooms, you will be able to find the link to this webinar on our YouTube channel, as well as on the Teams will send you the recording as well. So our agenda is very brief today. We are going to start off with just recapping PERMA, which we did discuss in our previous webinar, but we'll just mention it quite briefly. It is significant to what we do at EWIT. And then we have some fantastic human beings that I'll introduce you to. So Laura will be joining us from Service Stream, Carter from WeBuild Group, and we have Miriam from the Eastern Boat to Tram Alliance as well. These fantastic humans are going to be, I guess, giving you all the information that hopefully can assist you, support your students. Okay, so there is obviously a bit of Q&A, but please do feel free to ask questions as we go along, and I will keep an eye on that Q&A, but we will definitely have some time to go through some questions. Okay, I mentioned the EBTA, I mentioned the Big Build project, and by the way, that's my dog wanting to say hello to you as well, so please excuse her. As you can see, if anybody's ever looked at this big build map, it's affecting such a big part of what we do, no matter where we are. So keeping that in mind, it'd be really great if our participants, attendees today, do you mind just putting on the chat where you're coming in from, whether it's, Melbourne or Bendigo or Ballarat or down in Warrnambool, just so that when our panelists are talking, we have some scope of where you're actually zooming in from, so we can try and link some of our conversations to your regional areas as well. Not many parts of Victoria have been left untouched by the big build, so there are lots of opportunities everywhere. So please put in the chat where you're coming from, okay? And with that, the next thing I'll talk about is PERMA. As educators, you all know PERMA really, really well. It's essential. This wellbeing theory is at the cornerstone of everything that EWIT do, whether it's a schools program or whether it's our talent attraction program, whether it's dealing with culture and leadership with corporations. Everything we do revolves around this wellbeing theory. Are we creating that positive emotion when we are running our programs and talking about pathways to young people or not so young people? Are we engaged in what we do? Are we fostering those fantastic relationships? Are we creating meaning in what we do? And are we celebrating the achievements that our young people have, our participants have? So it doesn't matter what you do, what stage of life you are, this PERMA concept is so, so important. So we always like to start off with that. And just to share with you something that brings positive emotion and meaning to, what I do in terms of looking after the schools program, we're talking about large infrastructure projects and big build. Here's the Victorian Tunnelling Centre team, doing a bit of work with harnesses with students. It's a lot of fun. The students love it. Some of them have been upselling, so they're used to these kind of harnesses. Others have never seen that kind of equipment or worn that kind of equipment. So it's a lot of fun. They're fumbling around with it. Here's actually the EBTA team that Miriam is part of, running a hands-on activity with our students, and they have a lot of fun. It's noisy, it's dusty, they have fun, they make mistakes, there's a lot of laughter, and they have intimate conversations with the teams that are running these activities about their personal career journeys. So we love seeing that. This is one of my favorites. I was privileged enough to run a school session at a timber mill recently. And it is, I mean, I just find this so beautiful and fascinating. But again, we talk about the state of flow in terms of when you are in that state of flow and so consumed with what you're doing, that is real engagement. And you can see the student here. This is a mechanical activity being done, but it's part of a job in the timber mill because these production lines, this is a small version of it. So they're engaged in what they're doing. Same here, we're having fun. So I love to share some of the visuals that we do in relation to PERMA in our day-to-day kind of programs with you. So moving on from that, I will love to introduce our first panelist today. So Laura, do you want to come on up? I'll stop sharing my screen.
It's all good. Thank you so much. And thank you
Welcome.
everyone for your time today as well. I'm Laura. My role at ServiceStream is as General Manager of People and Experience, or Human Resources as we've known. The first thing I want to address is I don't have slides today because I don't want to take your death by slide, but I do want to tell you about ServiceStream and career paths that we have in ServiceStream and what we can possibly do for people going forward as well. So ServiceStream is a critical infrastructure business who is nationwide. We're owned by Australia. We're an ASX listed 300 business. It's one of those businesses or organizations that you probably won't hear of, but as soon as you've now seen my label ServiceStream, you'll see us everywhere. So specifically, we like to think of ourselves as an essential network service specialist. We do employ quite a lot of engineers. We work in telecommunications, both fixed line and wireless. Utilities we're very big in, so electricity, gas, water, renewable energy, engineering, construction services as well, and then transport, roads and industrial services. We're talking to Victorians on the line. So one of the big things that all of you will have seen is the lights in the Burnley Tunnel. So the Burnley Tunnel, for example, when you go through there, you've got green travelling lights which follow the flow of traffic, and that's actually implemented by ServiceStream. So now you'll think of us every time you go through the Burnley Tunnel, which is very cool. In terms of how big we are, again, we're nationwide, critical infrastructure. We employ about 5,500 employees, several contractors on top of that. And we're always open to career pathways and certainly early career pathways. Now, I want to talk to you about industry because I'm talking to educators as well, is the infrastructure industry has a shortfall of workers and we've got a lot of work in the pipeline. The shortfall of workers comes from an ageing workforce, which we're very cognizant of, and we need to do something about making sure we do have workers to stock the work to make sure that we keep our company running. Now, one way that we can open up the talent pipelines is we absolutely need to diversify our talent pipelines. An easy way to do that in a traditionally male-dominated industry that is aging is to try and work towards being a workplace that women, for example, want to be employed in. So we have certain streams for women, and we have a women-only leadership and up-and-coming leaders program where we try and make the change that we want to see in the industry. We've also got early careers programs such as graduate programs, and our graduates are in the midst of being recruited for our next round, which is next year. We have some apprenticeship programs, particularly in Victoria, and we've got traineeship programs as well. Now, if I look towards what it is that we do to diversify the workforce, because we are looking at EWIT, so empowering women in trades, I do want to talk a little bit about women. And certainly a passion area of mine of diversifying the talent pipelines within critical infrastructure is we know that if we become a workplace where we can both attract, retain and promote women, then we're going to have enhanced financial performance. We're going to have improved decision making and innovation within our business, which then helps us with continuous improvement in the way that we do business. Our competitors, we want to be at the forefront of our competitors. Better talent acquisition and retention, and that's of all genders. Enhanced reputation and compliance, that's very important to us, particularly as an Australian organisation. And we want to make sure that we are very in line with corporate governance and we're doing the right thing by the community because we do work in the community. So with that, we're very big on careers and looking for our next pipeline of people in the business. I just want to pause there for a moment because I want to make sure you all get what you need to out of this webinar. Is there any questions on Service Stream or indeed the industry? You're on
Sorry,
mute,
just,
Jasmine.
yeah, always happens, right? Even now. Just whilst we wait for the questions, Laura, you are so right. As soon as you know Service Stream, I see the vans
Mm.
everywhere, everywhere. You are literally everywhere, which is fantastic. Again, team, if there are any questions, feel free to type in. So you mentioned three things, Laura.
Yes,
Attract, retain, and there was a
and
third thing,
promote.
promote. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of research suggests that women will be more attracted to the workforce and be retained in the workforce if they see women in more senior positions. So you have to see it to believe it. And that's something that we're very big on as well. And that's why we've got a women only leadership program. And we promote that leadership program for women leaders and then up and coming leaders as well. We want to make sure that people within school age kids. I've got a daughter myself, 11. I would love for her to be attracted to the infrastructure industry in either a STEM career or, one of the big drivers of gender pay gap is indeed making sure that women have sustainable, great roles and great careers. And so if we can help towards encouraging women towards our workforce, then it's a win all over.
That's great. So you've got a couple of questions that have come up there, Laura. So how can our students find out about the apprenticeships and training opportunities in the Wimmera region with Service Stream? And just whilst we're talking about regions, we have participants here from Geelong, from Gippsland, Dandenong Ranges, Horsham, Hastings, Cranbourne, Seymour. Like we are literally from everywhere here.
Yes.
So yeah, in terms of your apprenticeship and traineeship opportunities with Service Stream, where are they and what's the best way to find out about them?
In Victoria, they are under our utilities banner. That being said, I know that telecommunications and transport infrastructure want to spread out as well. I think the easiest thing for us to do, I do wonder that after this webinar that we could send you, Jasmine, some information about our different programs to send out to the different cohorts of people in this webinar today.
Yep, definitely
And
can do
then
that.
my line is certainly open for anyone to come to me, and I'm happy to talk as a HR practitioner as well, and how I can help people in the industry and come into the industry. In terms of students and work experience placements, absolutely, we offer work experience placements. I've actually got somebody coming on board for a work experience with human resources soon. But that being said, we have it all over the business. And again, it's just about making the connection. And if you have a student who's interested in Service Stream, I can connect that student to the services that we have within that area, and then we can work through how that might that might be a possibility.
Yeah.
Best tips for students entering into their first job interview. Do you know what we look for is people who are willing to have a conversation and be open with us and are willing to work. And I see that in graduates as well, as the best graduates are the ones who they don't need to have experience, because people who are trainees, apprentices or graduates, it's expected they don't have 20 years of experience. So we very much understand that. And that's something that we say to people in job interviews as well. What we're looking for is attitude, open attitude, the willingness to be collaborative as a team. And it's something that we absolutely strive for, particularly because we want to be market leaders in our industry. So being positive, being able to work as a team is something that I would say, come be yourself and talk to us about that.
Yeah.
Is that helpful to you, Alison?
That, yeah, I think that there's really great tips there, Laura. And you can't beat the advice coming from a HR manager,
No.
of a large organization like that. So that's fantastic.
Very good. But they were great questions, and happy to take them at the end of this session as well. Again, we'll make sure that we provide information out about our apprenticeships and traineeships through EWIT. And again, my door is always open to people. My recruiters would love to hear from people as well. Any way that we can help people into a great career in critical infrastructure, to me, is a great thing.
Fantastic. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much. Is it time for me to introduce Carter? Do you have anything else? Yep. Perfect.
Great idea. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
wonderful. Thank you. Hang around till the end so that we can do some more questions. And with that, Carter, come on down.
Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. Lovely to be here. Just give me 1 second and I will share my screen. I do have a couple of PowerPoints just to help me along. So, yeah, okay, that'll do. That will do. So thank you, everyone, for your patience. My name's Kat Arbuckle, Learning and Development Manager here for WeBuild. I'm located in our Perth office, but as you can see from this map, we have presence across all of Australia and into Southeast Asia. Just wanted to show you this one just to sort of give you an idea of the type of business we are, the size of business. We've got nearly $18 billion worth of projects in backlog at the moment, and between Clough and WeBuild, we have over 100 years of experience delivering complex projects across the globe, and specifically for WeBuild in Australia here in Australia. In terms of the markets that we service, there's a range, but I suppose specific to today's conversation, that the complex transport within the infrastructure space is what we're doing in Victoria at the moment with a couple of our projects. And in terms of our services, we are an EPC contractor, but a big focus of our work is in the construction space. So some of the projects that we deliver have an engineering component to it, but most of them, or definitely all of them, have a construction component to it. As you can see here from our projects map, that we have projects scattered across the country, and the most relevant ones for you guys here today is our Suburban Rail Loop Package D project and our North East Link project in Melbourne. Not sure if you guys are familiar with these projects, but they're complex infrastructure projects that are underway at the moment, and obviously creating lots of jobs, opportunities from a learning perspective, as well as critical infrastructure to the state. So that's our Suburban Rail Loop, which is the most recent one we've been awarded, and then our NEL, our North East Link project, is well and truly underway and a quarter done. So really the topic of the conversation today is around what we can offer, what students can look to, I suppose, pursue once they, while they're finishing school or once they're finished school. So very topical for me at the moment because my daughter's in year 10 and going through the exact same conversations at the moment. So just thought I would put this in here to sort of show that, there are different pathways, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. So obviously the higher education is your university options, but the focus today really is on the top one here around vocational training and education. So more of your certificate qualifications, diplomas and that sort of thing. And then in terms of the careers that are available, flowing from each of the different further education options. So apprenticeships and traineeships, entry-level roles, cadets, we call them here interns and grads. I actually look after the intern and grad programs within our business. And then obviously as they develop their skills, they're moving into more senior roles. In terms of, I suppose most importantly, to try and get your head around what sorts of roles are the students likely to move into depending on the type of or the level of qualification that they're doing. So this slide, I won't go through it in detail, but just gives you a bit of an overview of the different types of roles that are available. And, as you obviously increase and move up through the qualification framework, and I mean, as a business, as we build, we offer opportunities across most of these. I will say we are a tier 1 contractor, and the projects that we're delivering are in the billions. As you know, Northeast Link and Suburban Rail Loop are a multi-billion-dollar project, so they are huge in size, and we do a lot of the work on those projects by engaging subcontractors. So even though we have opportunities for apprenticeships and traineeships on our projects, sometimes depending on the project and the contract, sometimes we will engage that workforce directly. Other times we may use our subcontractors to be able to provide those opportunities on our projects. I just wanted to clarify, sometimes there's a bit of a difference in terms of how those opportunities become available. Jazz started the session with the big build. So I just thought I would put in here a couple of resources that would be useful, even, for yourselves as teachers, but for students as well, just to get an idea of, if they're not looking at the university pathway, which, a lot of students these days are, it's really quite impressive to see how many options there are for alternative pathways. And the Big Build website, I mean, I'm new to it, and it's got a great amount of information in there in terms of the different types of training programs, and specifically, when you click on the Explore Careers option, there's the different major infrastructure projects that are going on in Victoria at the moment, that may have opportunities that your students might be interested in. But if I think about those 2 projects that we're delivering in Victoria, in terms of apprenticeships and the types of apprenticeships that those particular projects would be looking for, they would be, around the electrical space, plumbing, even arboriculture. So, obviously our both projects have a level of architecture and a lot of landscaping as a part of those scopes of work. So there's a really broad range of opportunities depending on what students are interested in. If students are looking to, that entry level role into the construction industry, definitely suggest looking at some of the certificate qualifications. So the Cert 3 in civil construction, construction plant is a really good one to give people that foot in the door, and that gives them tickets and licenses to operate plant equipment such as front end loaders and excavators and things like that. And then obviously they can move to higher risk licenses that gives them the opportunity to develop their skills within scaffolding or rigging or crane operating. So there really is a number of different options available, but like Laura was saying, it really does depend on the student and their willingness to learn and a commitment to a pathway. So yeah, that's it in terms of slides that I have. I probably spoke for less amount of time than I did trying to share my screen, but hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, I would be happy to answer what I can.
And just whilst we wait for those questions, thank you, Kata. That's awesome. I love this Big Build
Oh, it's so
website.
good.
I
Yeah.
really hope that as educators and teachers, I know you have access to so much information, but just to go and in particular the explore careers that, exactly the page that you talked about, there is a wealth of information on there. And team, I just want to highlight that although this particular Kate is talking about the projects in Melbourne in terms of the Suburban Rail Loop and the Northeast Link project. But everything is relevant, doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in Geelong, who've had, there's been massive infrastructure projects recently completed in Geelong, and there will be more in the future, in Gippsland, in Dandenong, in Horsham, Hastings, everywhere. There is work. So even if we look at something like the Certificate 3 in Civil Construction Plant, you don't have to wait for a massive infrastructure project to be on your doorstep to think, oh, that's the pathway, because a lot of councils provide those traineeships in this particular qualification because they're using this on a day-to-day basis as part of their normal ongoing infrastructure maintenance work.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're ahead of the game and your students are putting the effort in now, once those projects become available on your doorstep, or whether those students are mobile and willing to move, it just depends. Then they've got those qualifications, they're job ready, and are more likely to be successful with roles. And then really the sky's your limit. I mean, particularly with projects. As I said, some of the projects we are on, we are engaging people directly. Otherwise, we're with subcontractors. But if we are engaging directly, you've got opportunities to progress from one project to another project to another project. So there really is a lot of opportunities over a long career.
Beautiful. Okay. No problems. I'm sure there'll be some questions coming up your way, Kata. So
No
hang
worries.
around if you don't mind in
Of
in
course.
in the
Yeah. Yeah.
background. But this brings us perfectly to our final panelist, who is Miriam, because it's actually Miriam works on one of your projects as well, which is the Eastern Boat to Tram line. So Miriam, come on down.
Hi, how's it
How are
going?
you?
Good, thank you.
Great. So Miriam, if you don't mind, just I guess talking about what you do first of all, um, and then what is the project that you're working on to give context to that.
Yep. Well, I'm a survey cadet on the Eastern BTA Alliance project. So essentially, what that means is I'm learning on the job to be a surveyor in the future. So the cadetships that were mentioned, I'm doing one of those currently. And it was a bit of a career change for me. So the whole construction industry is all brand new, and it's been really exciting so far. And essentially, I mean, you can sort of see this is the artist's impression of the new freeway that's going to be opened in 2027. And we're powering along, which is great. It's a 6.5 kilometre stretch of highway that we're working on. And there is all sorts of things happening all day, every day. And it's there's a lot going on, and it's very exciting.
Fantastic. So
Yeah.
you're a cadet. So talk to us. I guess there's two things. Let's go back to you're a surveying cadet. So
Yes.
tell us about surveying, because it's one of those areas that not a lot of, it's like, I call it a mystery thing, career pathway. A lot of people don't know about it. And I myself didn't know much about surveying until I started, talking more to people like yourself, Miriam.
Yeah, it was very mysterious to me as well. I got into it because I really like cartography and I guess sounds nerdy, but measuring things and just the location of things and that sort of stuff. I always liked it as a kid, and that's essentially what you focus on in the job. You're measuring things, but in a spatial sense, and so. It's difficult to describe, but I mean, we use all different technologies to figure out exactly what the land looks like first. The highway that was existing, for example, and then you can use all different technology now to work out what it's going to look like, and then your progress as you go. So every day we go out, we measure things, we make sure the gutters have been put in the right place, the bridge is the right height, that sort of stuff. And there's a massive shortage of surveyors. We are scrambling. We need more people because now with the influx of technology and that sort of thing, we surveyors are becoming quite a prime person on the site.
It's where it all begins almost.
Yeah, and throughout the whole project as well, from start to finish, which is cool.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so that's about surveying, and we can talk for hours and hours on that. But team, if anybody is interested to know a little bit more about surveying, we actually did a online session on surveying careers recently, and again, that is on our EWIT YouTube channel if you wanted to find out a little bit more. But tell us about your cadetship. What does that look like?
It's the way I see it is it's an opportunity to learn. And in surveying, there are so many different pathways that it's pretty much an open book of whatever I seem to be interested in. They're happy to support me in that, which is fantastic. And I'm pretty much just hanging out with very knowledgeable people and soaking it all in.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So do you get paid as a cadet? How does that work?
Yeah. It is a full-time job. I'm still studying as well, so I've got a bit of flexibility with my study hours. But yeah, it's a full-time job.
Okay. And so was this something you did straight from school, or did you try a few different things? What did you try before you got into surveying?
I used to brew beer.
Okay.
So I went down the food technology, biotechnology side of things and brewed beer for a while. But I wasn't getting enough out of my career that I wanted. So I was looking for alternatives without starting from scratch. I had a lot of base knowledge that I could bring to a new career. So
amazing. From brewing to surveying.
They're surprisingly similar in attitudes and approach to work and stuff. So it suits me.
Miriam, what do you love about your job?
I do something different every day, and it's often something very cool and unique. Different toys, different areas of the construction sites, different people. It's very exciting.
Yep. And speaking of toys, you have something behind you. And I called it your something thingamajiggy, which was my technical term for it.
Well, we call her Lucy. Lucy is a laser scanner, and she's our latest piece of very fancy equipment. And I'm mostly the person who uses it. So what I do is I go out and she'll scan and rotate, and it'll give us a 3D model of everything that she's looked at using a laser. So I can bring that into the office, and then we can put it up on the screen, and it essentially looks like real life, the model, and we can take measurements or check to see if a hole needs to be deeper and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a good piece of kit. And yeah, Lucy the laser scanner. So that's one of the tools I use. Another one is our drone. This is Harold. I fly him once a week usually, sometimes twice. And it's another way to image the construction site. We fly it over the top, and then again we take it into the office and do some fancy stuff in the computer, and the engineers take that away and do what they do.
Amazing. I love the fact that you've got diversity right there and you're in the toys that you're using. So well done. Fantastic. Okay, so I might just bring Kato and Laura, both of you, back out again and just invite our participants and attendees just to ask some questions. So I know there's a question here. Let's go, Alison. What skills and knowledge would be beneficial to be a surveyor? So what type of, if a young person, what would they have to be like, and what skills would be good in the surveying industry?
I would say problem-solving skills. So you're presented with, say, an area or something that you need to figure out exactly where it is in the world, and maybe you can't walk up to it and get your GPS and figure out where it is. It might be very high, or so just I guess an attitude to thinking outside the box, just in a broad sense. But a lot of computing and mathematics is helpful as well. Not strictly necessary, but definitely helpful. Yeah.
No, awesome. No, that's a great question. Thank you, Alison. And Laura and Kate, please, from your, I guess, perspectives, what sort of skills when our educators are speaking to their young people, and if they catch a particular type of skills, then just some, I guess, tips and tricks for them to say, hey, you know what, if you're like this, you could be really good in civil construction or in various other parts of your businesses. I know we're talking about big infrastructure projects today, but your businesses aren't just that, especially you, Laura.
Yeah, absolutely. We're critical infrastructure. So obviously STEM is a really good pathway for us with engineering, but I mean, we have centralized corporate functions as well. So finance, and it's a really good industry to be in. Human resources is a great industry to be in. So any profession that can be a centralized support function, if maybe, I don't know, you've got a student who one day aspires to be a CEO or a CFO, that's something that maybe this is a good industry to be in. It's an essential industry, and it's something that can grow as well. And Infrastructure Australia tells us that there's a lot of work in the pipeline. So it can be anything really, but STEM is a really big one for us.
Thank you. Kate, anything to add?
Mine would probably be, yes, absolutely. Skills are important, and I think Laura touched on it as well. It's the attitude. It's having a can-do attitude that is going to sell you from the moment you walk into that interview. And if you carry that forward into, the work that you're doing, on the project or wherever you are, I mean, yes, we have opportunities on our infrastructure projects, like we were saying, but we also have opportunities within our business. We've been lucky enough to support for school-based trainees within our CLUF business here in Perth over the last 5 years. And they've been here for 2 years whilst they're finishing year 11 and 12. Start very simple, really entry level kind of tasks, but by the time they leave our team and move on to a project, onto bigger and better things, they're pretty well set up. But the one thing that has stood them apart from a lot of other people is their willingness to take on a responsibility and deliver those tasks and just say yes.
Yeah. Someone once said to me, just say yes to everything, figure it out later and ask for help.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the one key thing I say to our interns and our grads every year when they start with us is, get out of your comfort zone, be comfortable being out of your comfort zone. The comfort zone is where, everything is sweet and hunky-dory. When you move out of the comfort zone into the learning zone is where you will really start to build your competence, be able to deal with challenges, learn on the fly. And you add that to the saying yes part. You get opportunities on projects, and look, sometimes the experiences are great and you learnt a lot and you're like, I really like that, I might pursue that. And sometimes they are, what I've learned from that experience is that I don't particularly like it and I don't want to go down that path. But if you hadn't have tried, you wouldn't have known. So we're very big on, obviously, as a part of our intern and grad programs, we have technical competencies that are important as a part of our programs, but the non-technical competencies are equally as important. So, effective stakeholder engagement, effective communication, being able to resolve conflict, all of these non-technical competencies combined with technical competencies. Now, whether that's at any level throughout our business is what's going to take you from the next level to the next level. Whether you're on the ground on a project or whether you're in an office, it doesn't matter. Building both sets of those competencies, I think, is really important.
Thank you, Kato. Yeah, that's awesome. Miriam, can I ask you, surveying, is that a field that's traditionally more represented by men, by males? Traditionally, more men are recruited into that surveying field?
Yeah, I do believe so. I know there are some other women in the field. I haven't met too many of them, unfortunately. Um, and I think historically it's always been quite male dominated. I think part of that was probably because it involved a lot of outdoor activity, and back in the day some of the equipment was enormously heavy and bulky, and they're out on the farm anyway, so they may as well survey it, kind of thing. So
yeah. So what would you say in terms of, I guess, mentors, and especially, whether it's male or female mentors, how have you found, was it difficult for you to find mentors and examples to look up to, or did you have enough examples around you anyway, regardless of gender?
yeah, I'm surrounded by a good group of people, to be honest, and we have a lot of subcontractors as well that I work closely with, who aren't on the project all the time, and they're all just very competent people, all of them, and yeah, they're great to work around.
Perfect. Laura, I know you touched on this earlier when you were talking about diversity and how you, I guess, what initiatives you're taking within Service Stream, and we talked about those three things. So, Kata, similarly, in terms of WeBuild, what are some of the initiatives that the organisation is taking, I guess, to offer more diversity, or what does inclusivity look like for the business?
Yep. So, I mean, it starts from a recruitment perspective in terms of our commitment to ensuring that we're offering equal opportunities for all candidates that apply for our roles. I know from an intern and grad perspective, we definitely aim for a 50-50 split in those cohorts. In the past, we as a business have offered scholarships over a couple of years, specifically to female engineering students, just a small step to try and balance the gender, or balance gender within our engineering team, for example. But I know we have a number of initiatives that we participate in, a lot of community partnerships that we're involved in. Just next week, I'm going to the Girls Engineering Tomorrow graduation, whereby we sponsor. It's that Curtin University, and it's a program where they support year 11 and 12 students who are interested in pursuing careers in STEM. Now, whether or not they actually end up in engineering or whether they end up in any of the alternative pathways that we've talked about today, it's really a great initiative just to, and they bring in mentors. We provide them with, industry mentors that come. These girls are coming in on a Saturday for a couple of hours every fortnight, I think, for about 10 weeks. And they get an opportunity to speak to industry experts like Miriam. Miriam would go in and have a chat to them about what she does and why her job's great. They have, some great practical activities and things like that. So yeah, we've got their graduation ceremony next week, which is a lovely way to also meet the students and just have a chat to them about what they're thinking about for their future. We also have It Takes a Spark, which is another initiative whereby we go out to the high school. So it's kind of one. I suppose it's not one level down, it's still high school, but just trying to get them interested in STEM pathways, and interested in the construction industry as a whole. Just trying to improve that balance. I mean, yes, we're an engineering and construction business, and we are, a predominantly male. We predominantly have males in the organisation, but we're doing a lot of work to ensure that we are improving our gender pay gap, our gender balance within the business. And there's lots of things within the business in terms of, activities that take place to ensure that we do the best that we can in that space.
Awesome. And it is worth noting, team, that WeBuild, EBTA, Service Stream are all Alliance partners. of Empowered Women in Trades, and all of you support us run our school's programs to do exactly that, to promote, trades opportunities and non-traditional career opportunities to our female and non-binary students. And that's why you're here on the webinar, because you are part of our village. Fantastic. Please, any other questions, please feel free to write them on the chat and we'll cover them. But before we do go, I will just ask, I guess, one last piece of advice or encouragement from each of you on supporting women and what's one piece of advice for supporting women and non-binary students into trades pathways, whether you're a teacher or parent or student yourself? So if you could give one piece of advice, what would it be? Laura, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is just being open and encouraging. We grow up with a dynamic that sometimes segregates gender, and that can be the start of a lot of issues within gender-dominated fields, and construction infrastructure is one of them. But the more open that we are as a community, and the more open we are with children and teenagers and school-age kids, and the more encouraging we are, then the more our workforce is going to change. So I'm sure everyone on this call is encouraging and open, but it's just a good reminder for us all.
Amazing. Thanks, Laura. Miriam, you're next on my screen.
Yeah, I guess the same. I mean, just present it as something that is perfectly achievable, very achievable by anybody who wants it. Just making it normal, I guess, is the ultimate game. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Kata?
I would say I was going to say courageous, but I don't think it needs courage. I think it's definitely within our business. We give everyone a voice. We've got an incredibly diverse workforce, and we give everyone the opportunity and the space to speak up. Whether whether you are an entry level person in our business, on a project or in the office, we give them the ability to speak up and have their say. They want to have diverse thoughts within the business, because that's how we're going to do better and be better, right? If we all think the same way and we just keep doing things the way that we've kept doing them, we're not going to grow and move forward. So we very much empower not just our females, but our young people in the business to have their say and speak up and share their thoughts.
Fantastic. And it's something that we actually talk a lot about at Empowered Women in Trades, is that trades are for all humans. Full stop. So team, thank you so much for spending time out of your busy schedules to talk to us. And attendees, thank you so much for joining us to have a listen, have a bit of a yarn. Whether you're listening to this on a recording or as you've done live, we appreciate your time. This, as we said, was the second of our series. The next one, I hope you don't mind, I'm just going to share my screen again. We have spoken to our fantastic humans here already. The next one is on Thursday, the 6th of November, which is our final one for the series this year. And that one is focusing on manufacturing opportunities. And again, the recordings for this one and the previous one are on our website. Please also keep an eye on our socials for, I guess, up-to-date information on programs we're running, jobs and opportunities and apprenticeship pathways and traineeship pathways that our partners like ServiceStream, like WeBuild, like EBTA, all our partners that they advertise, we actually help them, spread the word as well. So those opportunities do appear on our socials, but also just so you can see what else is happening in this space. So do join us on our socials as well. If there's no other questions, I will say good night to everyone. Thank you for joining us. Kata, Miriam and Laura, really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. See you.
Thank you. Bye, team.
Bye.